time to give you all an update on my YouTube channel with a little movie again. I've been offline for a couple of days since I had the problem that my cell phone was stolen in a city in the north of Ethiopia, just by little kids. So I managed to buy another phone in Addis Ababa, where I am today, and I've been here now like 2 nights. Probably gonna stay 1 or 2 more nights and doing my maintenance. I'm staying at a place of a friend. I didn't know before, but I came into contact with her via a friend of mine, and she knew her. Says she lives in Addis Ababa. So before my trip, I have sent my tires here and a maintenance package for my bike. And well, gonna give you an update on what I'm doing at the moment. So I've changed the tires, which are sponsored by Pirelli via Renny van der Wal from Kickstart. He arranged this wonderful set of Super Corsas for me, for Corsa Rossos, I should say. I think I changed them yesterday at a place, a mechanic's place that Sarah well knows, and the mechanic and I itself in the afternoon will go out for another coffee, because you easily make friends if you have a mutual interest, in this case working on cars and bikes. Well, since we're here, I'll start off with telling some more about the maintenance and telling some more about my getting online again, buying the phone and the stolen telephone. Got up early this morning again to change the timing belts. Yesterday I've changed the valve clearances, which is just by taking off this cover. I can easily access the ones of the standing cylinder. For the laying cylinder, which is positioned right here, it's a bit harder. I should have taken apart the radiators and stuff like that. So what I did is I checked the valve clearance on the standing cylinder, and I accepted, since nothing has changed since I left the Netherlands, and I made the changes. I made the clearances quite on the tight side, so I made it in a way that if they would widen up, it would go in the right direction, so to say. So I anticipated for that. I've done now 11,000 kilometers on this trip. That was about 11,000 since I did the last valve clearances and adjustments. So that's doing really well. The 998 has the characteristic not to have too much issues with valve clearances and stuff like that. So it's not changing a lot, which makes it for me actually a very nice engine to be working with on trips like this. Not everybody would change the timing belts after only 11,000 kilometers, because the factory set can do 20,000 kilometers, and even I've heard guys doing it with 30,000 kilometers. But since I was doing any maintenance anyway, I decided just to ship a set of timing belts here as well. And I think it's good to take it apart, because there's a lot of sand all over the place. As you can see in the airbox, there's just ridiculous amount of sand when I was taking it apart yesterday, and it looks very dirty, and it is, but I've got a filter construction that makes it that it won't go into the intake housings, which are positioned here. So I have the injector housings. I'll show them right here, and you can see the filter which I'm using is not an factory original filter. It's a different one, which is like a socket that totally embraces the injection housing. So you put that one over there. So absolutely, even though there is sand in the airbox, it cannot go into the intake channel, which is good. And on top of that, normally you take out the original air filters, which are in the air ducts. And the air ducts are right here. For those who are working on these Ducatis, they know it, but they're right in this channel. There are air filters as well. And normally you take them out, but I've put them in again somewhere in Sudan, just to make sure I get the least possible sand into my airbox. And another problem with these bikes is that this is the sealing of rubber from the airbox. This is the airbox housing itself, and the tank, which is lying over there, that piece will just fit in right here, and will press off with the bottom of the tank this rubber to seal off the air housing. But it's never a tight fit. This is a weak point of these bikes. So what I did is I glued this rubber very good to the airbox housing, as well as I modified a little bit on the clamp in front of the tank that pulls the tank into the airbox housing. So I put this one a little bit up by enlarging the holes of the bolts, and pull this one a little bit up, so that would give a little bit more pressure on the tank, pushing it onto the airbox housing, and should give a better seal. And even though you can see there's a lot of sand in the airbox yet, it's a lot better than it has been in the past. So because I think the last engine, the engine before this, started consuming oil, and I think I ruined that engine a little bit in Turkmenistan and Iran due to the vast amounts of sand, and I'm afraid it didn't seal properly off. And I was using only the original air filters, so that's no rocket science then. And this is always a problem with deserts. If you don't protect your engine very well, they will eat up your internals. So done a better job on that one on this trip. Then my timing belts. You can use the factory original Ducati ones, which are recommended also by me, but I am using a lot cheaper ones. They are Dyco ones, and I bought them off eBay Germany. They are about less than a quarter of the price than the original. So I buy 4 of these belts for the price of just one factory original Ducati one. And the factory original ones, they are enforced by Kevlar. They are a lot stronger. But personally, I would say I decided to change the belt industry because I was sending a maintenance package anyway. So I decided to go for the cheaper rubber ones, which within an interval of 10,000 kilometers and in such a short time span, it's no issue at all. I mean, the rubber won't dry out in about 3 or 4 months. So I decided to do it that way and to change them. With the original ones, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have changed them, even though I will exceed the 20,000 kilometers in this trip. That would exceed the maintenance interval, which is originally scheduled from Ducati, should be 20,000, but I will easily drive 25-30,000. Especially, I'm not really stressing the engines like you would do on a racetrack, for example. So no issues there. Maybe I can light out a little bit how you change the timing belts for those interested. So you've taken off all the fairings, you take off the airbox, and which the ones who work on this bike will be familiar with. And it looks like a lot of work, but really in half an hour you strip down this bike. It's very easy. It's all made to be stripped down alongside a racing track, which is always for me a nice thing in trips like this. A Ducati will require more maintenance than I would say any other bike. And for many people it's not suitable for a trip like I do, as many people often say to me. But on the other hand, I think on a trip like this, any bike, it doesn't matter. You can buy a 25,000 euro BMW, which can also have issues. They may be electrical, and you may be waiting for a DHL package to be sending off your dealership from Europe for 2 weeks. So, left around, right around, it's hard to say what is better or what is worse. And meanwhile, I show you a little bit of the house of Sarah, where I'm staying in the middle of Addis Ababa. So it's a nice place, actually, really. So this is for me nice to have a bike that's easily taken apart. So for me, the criterion is not so much that a bike shouldn't break down. It's more that anytime it breaks down, it should be able to be repaired. And this bike electronically is, for me, quite easy. It's not really the ones with key codes that can mess you up, or very complicated ECU systems. There's no CAN bus system, so you can beep down a wire and really actually see from the pin in your computer which is operating, for example, your injection injector, I would say. As you can see, this is the ECU. It's quite simple. I have 2 spare ones of these by me, so you can just take off the cables and see all the pins which operates the different things they're operating. So as in the example, the injectors, for example, or any other signal, and it takes the mapping just from here. This is the fuse box. It's all very simple. Every once in a while you have to clean them out because there's a lot of dirt coming in always, and the Italians, they tend to not really seal their electronics as well as some other manufacturers, but that's all right, as long as you take the maintenance penalty for that. Once you've taken off all the fairings, as I was telling, then you can access, there's covers over your distribution belts, over your timing train, I would say. And here you can see the pulley. It's a little bit dark here. I don't have a lighter to really light that one better out, I think. But yeah, if I do it like that, you can see it. This is the pulley which is driven off the crankshaft in the opposite direction. So you can see a marker down there, right there. There's a red marker, and there's a marker on the casing, which is the little groove you see just underneath. It's hard to see, and I marked it a little bit with red paint. So normally at home I have a special tool so I can rotate the crankshaft from the other side of the engine, and I could line it up. In this case I just put it in gear and I roll it until they are lined up, as well as the signs on the camshafts. So I made myself these silver ones so I can line them up horizontally. I always know when these one match here, this one matches here, and I have the same here. You see the two silver ones here. If they line up, then your standing cylinder is on top dead center of your compression stroke, so it's about to fire. And the ones in the front, they have no pressure. So if you take off the timing belts, it's always this cam that will tend to pop this way, and the other ones will just stay in place. It's important that once you've lined them up, you take the bike out of gear and you don't touch the rotation of your crankshaft, because you could end up not lining up your grooves accordingly. And if you, for example, if you miss one teeth on it on the wrong side, well, you may damage your engine. In this case, I know from these engines, if you have the one teeth off, it will not directly damage your engine in terms of like bended valves, but if you do it badly, you certainly can, since the pistons will hit the valves. So once you've done that, there is a nut here. This is the tensioner. Hope I can do it like this. Yeah, it lights up better. This is the tensioner. You have to undo this 12mm nut. And then the tensioner will, from the top, fall down this way, and it takes off the tension. You can take off the timing belt. And once you've taken off the timing belts on both sides, you take them off this pulley here, which is quite, you have to tweak and fiddle a little bit to get that going, because the one on the back, as you can see there, is lying further behind, is quite hard to reach. Here, now it's lighting up better. So you've first got to take off the one of the horizontal cylinder, then the one of the vertical cylinder, and put the one of the vertical cylinder first on before you can put the one of the horizontal cylinder back on. And once you've done that, you can start tensioning them. So I always give a little bit of pre-tension on this nut, so if I rotate this, it doesn't fall back immediately. And it's important, you have to do it from the top side, so you have to rotate it to the top side to tension it. And then, yeah, well, I do it from experience. There are special toolings to see the tension in this, but I know if I press here and it's just not touching the top of my cover, I've got around 2-3 millimeters in between, I am about having the right tension. So, and I always check this feeling for myself if it's right, and also I know the place here on the non-tensioner side. I do like this. It shouldn't be too tight, but it shouldn't be too loose. Yeah, it's really like, Fingerspitzengefühl. And the same is for the laying cylinder. There are frequency meters for that, but I'm not gonna travel around with stuff like that. I never do it in my garage. I've changed the timing belts a gazillion times on these bikes, and I've never had one snapping. Not the cheap ones, not the expensive ones. So there's absolutely no issue with this. They don't run very heavy. It's quite an easy job. So that's the maintenance so far. I will clean up more the airbox and start putting the bike together a little bit. I did send a new air filter here, so I am going to change the filter that I've been using so far for the last 10,000 K. So I'll take this one off, and here's the new one. They're quite expensive. They're around $100 or something like that. Here's some more .4 brake fluid. Yesterday I changed my slave cylinder again, which I've changed before on this trip. I didn't trust it because I was losing control of my clutch a little bit. Like the travel would be too small, and but the problem appeared to be in something different, something really stupid and easy, because I think on mounting the new levers I have just tensioned this one a little bit too hard, so it wouldn't come out.